Hello guys, and welcome to another Wargame European Escalation game today. Similar to my last game, I am playing on Hammerhead, but today I am doing a 2v2, which is awesome, and my good friend Biggin is playing on my right flank. His name is AI Easy, you're probably wondering why, but that was basically to get other people in the game. Unfortunately, even though this is a very awesome game, not many people play it, so you kind of have to try hard to get people in, especially when a lot of new people are playing at the moment due to the Steam sale, so people don't really want to particularly play higher levels. But anyway, in my usual style, I shall speed up the deployment and discuss what I chose, not so much what my friend chose. I will quickly jump over there occasionally, as I did in the actual game, but for now I'll just focus on my side. So, to start off with, I'm actually playing NATO today. I'm not playing Pact. I think for the last 3 episodes I've been playing Pact, but today I'm playing NATO, and I've got 2 Stingers with my command truck back here and the FOB over here. You always want the FOB to be nearer where you're going because it makes resupplying so much easier. I've got a Gazelle and an Apache, which will go around the left side. I've got a Lux as my recon, and 2 Leopards, 2 Marder Roland 2s, like 1 each. Then 8 Fuchs, which are basically going to swarm these forests up here to basically make it hard for the enemy to push onto Charlie and take decent control of Delta. I've also got the Sultan here for Charlie, and a Chaparral to help cover that from air units. The tactics that we were going for in this game were to basically take Bravo, Charlie and Delta. That was our original plan. Unfortunately, due to some well, basically it didn't go as planned, as it never does, but yeah, we don't really get to take Delta until reasonably late in the game, and we lose Bravo about halfway through, so there's got that to look forward to. I've bought in a few AML 60s. These are basically mortar carriers. They support for attacks from light infantry and APCs. They can be very destructive in that case. So the game started now, and I'm going to switch to my point of view so that we can see what's going on. So anyway, most of this troop here will be going up to defend Charlie right off the bat. I don't necessarily want to go and take Delta straight away anyway, because the thing is, if you overextend into Delta and they attack you down Charlie, you're cut off completely. Although my friend's taken Bravo, it's still a very risky strategy. So just taking Charlie and making sure that your friend gets Bravo, that's the best you can do at the start of the game, especially on this map. Okay, so here's my first problem. He has 5 Mi-24Ds coming in on the left side. These are the German variant, I think, of the Mi-24s, and basically they severely damage my Gazelle recon, but just managed to pull that away before it gets shot down. My Apache, however, I used to bait them into my AA, which is just about set up. I know he's going to follow me. I keep slowing it down and then re-clicking towards my AA so that he has time to catch up, and so I can sort of bait him properly. And then as soon as he's close, I just stop it and let the AA take over, which manages to get quite a lot of shots off, while my Gazelle just routes off into the middle of nowhere. You can see that I've spread out my Fuchs into this area here, and I've also got a couple that were going up to this, or trying to get to that village up there, so that I could maybe try and disrupt them even further if they got there before the enemy did, but unfortunately they didn't. But I managed to shoot down 4 out of the 5 helicopters, and in the end the last one seems to continue to attack me after it stops routing, which basically results in it being shot down like the rest. You can see here that in a rush to take down my Gazelle and maybe my Apache, he sends his Tunguska straight into the forest, which I find is quite a weird decision, because he doesn't know what's in there. And what do you know, my Jaegers are standing there waiting for him, and as I predicted, I'd be able to disrupt them as much as possible before they did any damage. Now, while this is all going on, I'm very worried about this little force here. In the actual game, you can see that basically they focused a lot on the left side. Half the troops from the guy who played on the right sent his little force basically of BMPs and T-72s over to the right side, or over to the left side of the map. And fortunately, I have 2 Leopards sitting on the top of the bank there. You can see it's like a sort of bank, and they have a nice range advantage over the BMPs and T-72s. In the meantime, my Jaegers and Fuchs are doing their best to take care of these vehicles. You can see that these Jaegers are actually doing reasonably well against these light vehicles. The good thing about Fuchs, and well, bringing in Fuchs with Jaegers in them, is that generally Jaegers don't really struggle to make themselves worth it. Now, this is when, like, I'm talking about this as in the concept that if you bring in a unit and it costs, say, 20 points, but you kill 40 points with that unit, then you've almost doubled its worth. And that's basically what you want to aim for with every unit. Now you can see here I'm using my mortar carriers to basically force him to either push or run away. And he decides to push with his motor Shogi outside of his BMPs, which I find is an odd decision, because the motor Shogi are going to have to run a hell of a long way, and yeah, in the end they don't do anything because his BMPs and T-72s are empty, so I don't have to worry about them getting close, unless they still have ATGMs left over, which they do, but they stop them out of range, and my Leopards just have a field day dealing with that, because this guy has 2 Hemps fixing him the entire time, so he's all good to go. As long as the armour is continually facing against the ATGMs, the Leopard should be fine. If I accidentally turned it sideways or tried to run away, it would be unlikely that it would survive if a lucky ATGM hit it in the side or rear armour. So, if anyone's ever shooting at you with ATGMs, never turn your tank around, face them and reverse. To reverse, you'll want to right click very close to the back of your tank. To sort of, you have to micromanage the reverse on this game, which is quite annoying. On the right side you can see that my friend's just taken up a defensive line across Bravo, and he's having trouble keeping back the T-72s and Havocs because of the lack of missile AA. In the meantime, I'm still skirmishing with Moto Stroki and the light units that come with them. My AMLs are doing well to keep the BMPs pinned down. I have to micromanage where they fire, so you'll see that sometimes they just keep firing into the same position because you have to stop them and then retarget with fire position command. Now, you can see I've brought in a few Chieftain Mark IIs, 4 in fact, and this one's a bit unlucky to be caught out by the Motor Shoki. At the time there was the Fuchs in there and I could still see what's going on, but I kind of concentrating on the right side on what my friend's doing, I accidentally managed to get one lost, and this one doesn't stand much of a chance either once 3 T-62s plus BMPs start firing at it, and unfortunately quick work is made of that. Now my friend's still under siege at this point, and you can see that his Havocs are taking out his heavy tanks and AA reasonably easily, which is unfortunate, and is why he loses the upper hand on the right side. But meanwhile on the left, I bring my I'll reposition my Leopard and make sure that they're in range with my chieftains to take care of this push on the left. My Apache, I get to rise up and fire its Hellfires at the oncoming tanks. You don't really want your Hellfire firing ATGMs at light vehicles for the pure fact that it's not really worth it. But so always make sure they're aiming for like the main tanks, because that'll be like the most damage done then. Luckily I managed to get my Sultan out of the way before a BMP hits it, and you'll see that shot was very close actually. And as soon as they're gone, I make sure to move it back so that they don't have it. If they have any artillery and they decide to try and hit my command vehicle, they'll aim for this section here, not where it originally was. So that's why I make sure I move it back to where it was, to kind of bluff the enemy if they have artillery. So you see on the right side, the enemy's kind of let off. He's doing a reasonable job of defending. That was the whole idea. I just didn't want the right side player coming across me and hitting me from two sides, so that one player was coming across Delta and one was coming down Echo. That would have been a bit of a problem. But I've still got problems on my side at the moment with these motor Shrolki. If I go into the neutral perspective, you can see that there is actually basically where my Fuchs were with the Jaegers, they've basically been taken over by motor Shrolki, except from this one down here, which I accidentally spot with a Gazelle. I was lucky to get away with that, because if I was sleeping, then my Gazelle would have flown straight over the motor Shrolki and probably got shot down by the light arms fire, which can be quite annoying, because you don't want helicopters being shot down by light arms fire. It's just insulting. However, considering the start of the game, you can see like all these wrecks here. You can see all the wrecks. It's just kind of crazy. Like, I took out most of his forces at the beginning of the game. If you just look on the left side, all he's got is his motor Shrolki and these new Spetsnaz units that he's just brought in. He doesn't have much else. At the time, I did not know that, so I kind of just turtle at Charlie until I know that I'm free to move into Delta. But you can see, to take care of these groups of infantry that I've found, I start to bring in these Fuchs, which have Fernspat in, which are basically heavy recon sort of special forces kind of thing. They have really high HE power, and a flame tank. I also have two flame tanks here which take care of the BTRs which dropped off the Spetsnaz into this forest. I know that they've dropped off something, I just don't know that it's Spetsnaz next. Or yet. While they're there though, I make sure to just spray this bush with flames. I do actually hit him quite badly with the flames, but he manages to pull back his squads in time before I do any more damage. Now the thing that they've done with flamethrowers is they've really nerfed them. They've made them so that you can't fire position over trees. You can fire into trees if you can see where you're firing. You can only fire where you can see you're firing with the Zippos now. Otherwise, you just kind of have to make sure you get in line of sight. You see down here my Fernspat making short work of the motor Shrolki, while the Zippo provides flamethrower support from the top of the hill, which is basically the whole idea of this. Like, the Zippo stays out of line of sight while the Fernspat makes sure that they can see them, so that I can just fire the Zippo from a distance. Now, knowing that they're all finished off, I get the Fuchs and the Fernspat and take the Zippo over to the Spetsnaz over here, which I've just spotted taking out my Jaegers. In the meantime, on the right, my friend's just trying to pick off some of these tanks with the AH-1F Cobra. Not my favourite helicopter, for the pure fact that it has to stop before it can fire ATGMs. the Apache doesn't have to stop to fire its ATGMs. You can just move it around freely while it's doing so, which is an awesome feature about the Hellfire missiles. The Havoc's exactly the same. It's basically the equivalent, except from I think the Apache's a little bit more accurate, but the Havoc has more ammo. So you can see as soon as my Zippos get in range, I basically just torch this forest here to try and get rid of the Spetsnaz. I know they cost a lot, so I'm trying my hardest to get rid of them. Zippos don't actually cost them much themselves. They only cost 25 each. So even though they are flamethrower tanks and they do a hell of a lot of damage, they are worth less than a Spetsnaz squad. So even if a Spetsnaz squad died, or a Zippo died trying to kill a Spetsnaz squad, it would still be worth it. I'm bringing in a couple of Vulcans for closed air support, but the trouble is with Vulcans is they have not very much fuel, and you can see that they're flashing with fuel, and all they've done is come from this point here to over here, which is really bad in respects, but they're good for pinning down vehicles and infantry in cover. You can see here that I've just revealed these motor Shrolki. The Zippo that's here, I make flame that area with fire position, while the Vulcan goes in to find the Spetsnaz. But while this is all going on, this guy brings an Mi-24 VP around the back, which is basically like a heavy helicopter, like the AH Cobra that my friend had, with static ATGMs. He manages to pick off a Hempt, which is unfortunate considering I had basically 4 Hemps, and when they were empty they went back, and then the other Hemps that were full went up to the front line, and that was basically how I was working my supplies throughout this entire game. Unfortunately these Stingers miss all of their shots, but this Stinger manages to get this in the end. Now at this point my friend's having a lot of trouble against the tanks over here, so he decides to pull back and leave the Chieftain to it. But unfortunately, due to the overwhelming numbers of T-72s, I believe he has to fall back completely eventually and lose Bravo. Meanwhile, on my side, I'm still trying to get rid of these Spetsnaz, so I send a Zippo straight into the action, and unfortunately it gets routed, but I don't think it dies. It might do, not sure. But here you can see the Mi-24 at my base being shot down, an unsuccessful attempt by him to pick off my command vehicle at my base. Now there it goes, and this Zippo is now taking its chances against the Spetsnaz, but this one manages to get its flamethrower going, which basically means that it's won. Meanwhile, my AMLs are providing mortar support, very close mortar support to this area, just to try and take care of the remaining 2 units of Spetsnaz. I know I've only taken out 1 because only one message, or only 1 number came up when I destroyed them. Now at this point the game's reasonably even. We are winning by 540 points, or well actually almost 600 points, but as my friend continues to lose points on the right side, all that he's got left here to defend is Fusiliers, and I have to tell him pretty quickly to get rid of this VAB out of that point before he loses it. My Zippo manages to get a bit further up, and because the Spetsnaz run out of rockets, they are completely open to the Zippo firing upon them, and my Zippo gets a nice couple of kills on those Spetsnaz. Now you can see at this point the guy on the right side has basically taken Juliet and is using it as his basically forward base. On the left side I have more or less dominated him. He doesn't have much left. this TATU kind of gets owned in a minute. And I am basically in the process of clearing out all these forests, so I know it's free to advance to Delta. His Fusiliers on the right side, my friends Vegan, managed to take out 4 T-72s on their own, which is awesome. And they rank up a lot. You can see if I hover over them, they've got 3 chevrons, 1 chevron and 3 chevrons, and that's very good for infantry because it makes them extremely accurate with their missiles. And later on, a lot of them become 4 chevron, which is cool. But unfortunately, they die to APCs once they run out of ammo due to lack of micromanagement. Now here you can see my decision to bring in a Sultan to defend, or basically attack Delta. You can see I'm bringing in a Chaparral and Chieftain and some Fuchs with Jaegers in to basically cover the main approaches to Delta. I have a reasonable amount of points at this point, so I'm pretty safe to make sure that that's well defended while having a command vehicle there. You can see that the TATU has now arrived at the left side, and with the help of the Apache I managed to take that out reasonably quickly. My Leopard 2A4 managed to get a direct hit onto the side armour of the TATU, and while my Apache is flying along I managed to get a direct ATGM hit as well, which finishes off the TATU very quickly. Now you can see here that the Fusiliers are stranded, and my friend's moved back to his base. And I basically told him to hold up in this forest here for more or less the rest of the game, just so that I have time to finish off the enemy on my side and then sweep round to help him. The victory score is 3,500, and currently we're at, well, after killing that tank, 2,858 points. I believe the Fusiliers also managed to finish off that point, which basically gives them about 8 points, or 8 T-72 kills, which is a lot. You can see what I was talking about earlier with the 4 chevron, 3 chevron and 4 chevron units and the bottom of the screen. And unfortunately he doesn't decide to move them back, and they die a lonely death to this BTR-78, which just basically picks them off one by one because they're out of ammo. Now over on the left here, the UAZ Echo runs away, and I do see it move, and you can see that I send this Fuchs right here to go chasing after it, and it's quite funny actually. This UAZ does really well. It kind of gets over to like here and then turns around and comes all the way back, and then eventually gets destroyed, but it gives me a right chase. Basically, with this guy surrendering, this is the guy who I was fighting on my side over here, and that was his UAZ, but basically he sends it out of Echo to defend it, but what the guy on the right doesn't realise is that he has sent it away to defend it, so the guy on the right sends it all the way back to go and recapture, but doesn't know that I'm busy chasing it or know it's there, so I make quick work of that when it gets back. Now in the meantime you can see that my friend's being pushed completely out of his position now, and they're defending it with AA because of his use of Cobras, and I'm not too sure, but I do come over to help him, or try to help him with the Apache, but unfortunately I don't get a chance because of the Books and Tunguskas that are sitting there waiting for me. I'll just speed up the game. You can see what I mean, that the guy turns this around. Unfortunately I end up driving straight past it. Knowing that I've kind of lost this vehicle here, I just send my Fuchs to the bases. I'm not sure what I'll find at both, but that's the good thing with Fuchs and Jaegers, is that you're likely to be able to find, well, you can use them as scouts and not have to worry about losing them because they cost they're so cheap. This Fuchs over here does much better than the Fuchs on the right. The Fuchs on the right gets destroyed very quickly after my Jaegers quickly eject. And the Jaegers don't stand much of a chance against Afghanskis and ASU fire. But the Fuchs on the left, however, does stand much more of a chance. But unfortunately I don't find the command vehicle in time before he can manage to bring in T-72s to rescue that vehicle. Now over here you can see that I spotted something on the map. My Fernspar, which are basically sitting in this forest here, saw the UAZ driving down the road. Now, it's gone past them now, but I know it's there. And you'll see in a minute that I actually spot it again. Now this chieftain manages to nearly get a shot off, but unfortunately, just as it goes over the ridge, it loses sight of it. And unfortunately I can't fire. Now my mortars are right here, and I always thought that they could shoot at ground targets without having to wait for the mortars to load, but it seems not. So I bring them out of the bush thinking that they can fire upon the UAZ, and they can't. So unless they aim for ages, nothing much is going to happen. And he drives it straight past my AMLs and just parks it in Echo. Now, probably wondering, oh dear, he's just going to get mortared. Very true, but as soon as I start to do that, he basically runs away again. So as I was saying earlier, my friend's taking up defensive positions on the left. Probably should have had more AA there. There's a lot of Fusiliers and Spartans, and not much AA. Well, there is some AA back here, but it wouldn't do much if they helicopter attacked from the front, because the AA can't fire out of the forest. The Cobra on the right manages to get itself shot down by some missile AA units, and you can see here that I was talking about earlier with the AML shooting at the command vehicle on the ground. Just so I don't lose it this time, I bring my Gazelle over to make sure where it is, and then continue to get my Apache from the right side and bring in another Cobra. This is just a light Cobra with rocket pods on it, just to take care of this vehicle over here. Now I can see these BMPs here as well, and I'm a bit concerned about my AML, so I move my AMLs back as quickly as possible. I'm so desperate to get these points now because it's still reasonably close and it could turn around at any moment. We're on 2,933 points, but after that we're on 3,133, so we got a much greater advantage now. The packed side is on 2,355, and with the help of this Cobra and Apache we managed to get an even larger points advantage against these BMPs and Motor Strelki by destroying them with rocket pods. Now on the right side, my friend manages to take care of a Havoc or two with the Rolands he brings in, which is awesome, and helps us to get to the point limit much faster. This BMP though manages to take a real beating before actually being destroyed. My Cobra manages to run out with one set of rocket pods, and then goes to finish off the Moto Strelki with its main cannon, while my Fuchs at his base managed to shoot down some Geoanese or whatever. I don't know how to say that, but basically those are the equivalent of the OH helicopters that the NATO side can get. They have ADGMs, which are really inaccurate, and SAM missiles, which are really inaccurate, but basically they're like reactive anti-air. And when I say reactive, I mean as in like they're last minute. They're the sort of thing that you bring in to take out things at short notice. You can see my Jaegers managed to shoot down that helicopter at the end there to get 60 points, and that last Motor Strelki unit manages to make us complete the game, or finish the game, on exactly 3,500 points, which is probably a first for me, but a pretty awesome game nonetheless. And I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope I've given you some tips throughout. And I guess I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.